found this interesting, this lesson? Good. The whole point of the lesson is not to like get you to change your major or anything. We have plenty of majors to start. That's not the goal. I think the main point of this lesson is to kind of open your eyes to the world of automotive, because most of you have probably been fed your whole life that automotive leads to what? Mechanic, right? Something like, my gosh, I feel like I'm hyperventilating in here. Woo! Oh, wait, handle that. Anyways, so the whole goal was that. Is that how you felt kind of after this? Like, wow, there's a whole lot more out there than just that, right? So before we dive, we're gonna look through. We're not gonna like read through PowerPoint. You already did that. We're gonna look at it here. But before we do that, let's do a small little activity. Turn the screen up for a second. Just want you to talk. You don't have to get close together or anything, but work together. Do different parts or something. But I'm going to assign each one of your tables or pairings with a specific job. And I want you to look up three things for me. I want you to look up what is the annual salary average, what are the qualifications, and pretty much like the job description. What will you be doing? Okay, so here's your jobs. Number one, YouTube. You're going to do test engineering, and make sure when you do your searching that you specify automotive test engineering. Okay. Second table back to service engineering. And then third table back, let's do a technician. And do like a dealership technician, not a private shop. Back table, let's do a service manager, like a dealer service manager. And then,
so like when I'm looking this up, like in like automotive.
Yeah, always do automotive. So automotive test engineering, automotive service engineering. And for service engineering, you might try field service engineering as well. That might help. Automotive field service engineering. And then you three do, and you can work on your own, just kind of get your information. We'll just share. But do, let's do a fun one like performance tuning. Okay, we'll spend like 5 or 6 minutes on that and then come together and talk about it.
No.
Be self-motivated, great attention to detail,
Honestly, that was like the first thing that popped up. I just wanted to demonstrate that I'm playing how to use it. I had one of those, so it's more than I can do. But it's not, I can
memorize all these different cars and everything. It's a lot of hard work. One time I went in my wedding, my oil change. And I knew this place wasn't really the quality of work. They work really well. Works families come a lot from it. Because they had to order everything I needed and waited for O'Reilly's to show up with the oil nut. It took them like 4 hours to drive. I could have gone in like 20 minutes. It took them like 4 hours to get there. And they called them like, hey, you on their way? And they're like, yeah, we're on our way. Like 2 hours passed. You die? Awkward if they responded yes. Then you feel horrible about it. Do you think cars will pull away from technology? Or do you think they'll just continue down the path of technology?
It's going to continue. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so the point where the car will actually tell you what's wrong with itself. Directly. Oh yeah, it's this wire. Just go look at it. Or something. At least that's what I'm thinking.
That'd be cool.
Not really. Takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Then you still have to fix it, but that's the easy part. Diagnosing it is the fun part. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, so we'll start with test engineering. What's their annual salary? Would you guys advise?
About 71,000.
Okay, that sounds about right. And what do you have to do to be? Just a bachelor's, okay. Anything else? To say that you need? Okay, electrical and mechanical knowledge. What's the job description? What is a test engineer?
They work on stuff that has to do with the test, and a lot of it is like creating like the test plans, testing those plans. Or
Okay.
like working with issues that have to do with the test.
Okay, so they're not only doing the test, they're like making the tests.
Yeah, and like working out the details of that, because there's a lot of different descriptions in the description that has to do with like tests stuff.
Okay.
Like truck test vehicles.
And it's not just cars, right? There's test engineers for every part of the car. And they don't just build the car, they build each individual part, test it, do all sorts of stuff, then that gets put together. And then there is a test engineer for the car itself, but there's lots of test engineers. There's a test engineer for every little bit of that car. So,
if they want to work with the computer.
depends. Are you designing the software? Or do you want to be testing the software after it's been designed? Good, so yes, there could be a test engineer for the software of the vehicle, or infotainment systems, or any sort of electronic computer. Like I said, there's test engineer for every little level, and there's jobs listed for those things all the time. Good, and good pay. That's average. So that means there's people making a lot more than that. No, obviously there's some people paying less. It's double that? Good, yeah. All right, let's do field service engineering. Okay. A little less, not bad.
What they need to know beforehand is they need to have about 2 years of similar experience.
Okay.
Degree, they need to have a bachelor's in engineering.
Okay.
And they need to also have great attention to detail. And they need to be self-motivated.
Good. What are they? What's the job?
From what I found, it sounds like they like services.
Okay. So they train.
Yeah.
Good. That's field service engineer. What's a service engineer? Because there's both. They're similar, but they're not the exact same. That's fine. You don't have to. Anybody else? Does anybody know what a service engineer does? Okay, let's talk the difference between these two, because they seem very similar, but they're not. So,
Like at home, the other one is the guy that's in the
this guy?
yeah, the field. Like so, the testing is the guy that's done at Ford Motor Company, and the field is the guy that goes to Ford dealerships and talks to the guy that do the work there.
So that's this. There's also this, just by itself, which is in between. So let's talk about the both. So when they make something brand new, so let's say that there's an engineering team. You guys are, there's an engineering team for every little bit. So there's a mechanical engineer, lead engineer with his team that designs the machinery and the setup and all that stuff and runs on, and is monitoring everything for this piece. And there's another team for this piece, and 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 there's a whole bunch of stuff, and they all really come together. For every engineering team, there's got to be test engineers for those things that they're producing, right? So, test engineers are pre-production tests. Right? We haven't actually started selling this stuff yet. We're just in designing phase. So we're making it, we have people testing it. If something needs to be changed, the test engineers talk back to the team, and they're constantly getting this feedback so we can make things better. That's what these guys are doing. This is pre-production. These guys are post-production. So this, just a plain service engineer, still working straight for Ford Motor Company or somebody else, will take the already made product that we've already started selling, and he's going to be trying to figure out, well, how do you fix it? How do you fix something that's never been fixed before because it's never been broken before because it's never existed before? Right? These guys know how to test the stuff that was there, but once it was made, once this car is made, and we start seeing these people that have their problems at the dealerships, like the first 2020 vehicle that comes to the dealership, nobody knows how to fix it. Some things they know how to fix because not a lot has changed since the last model, but what if that's new technology that they just put on there? No one knows how to fix it, right? So it's up to these guys to figure it out, write up literature on it, share that with everybody else, come up with trainings, and then field service engineers go out there and train dealership technicians so they know how to fix newer stuff. So you could be working directly for Ford at a call center type place, but a lot more advanced call center than you've ever seen in your life. Like access to a full-size shop right behind you, all the newest technology out there, people emailing you and calling you saying, hey, our technicians have been dealing with this one problem for 2 weeks. We can't figure out what it is. Here's what we've done. And then you're like, oh, I haven't seen that one yet. I'll take my team out there, let's figure it out, and then once we figure it out, we'll tell you, and then we'll write something about it. So that somebody else deals with it, all we gotta do is forward the information. Does that make sense? That's kind of cool. I'm done. Seriously. Oh. It's like the worst thing. Do other teachers teach with masks on? There's all shields these days. Yeah, I totally missed the shield.
I heard that you was just reading how you
Woo!
know. Like,
Anyways, okay. So that's field service. And by the way, lots of automotive students have gotten jobs in this service engineering area, which we'll talk about. So this is post-production. That's the difference. Does that make sense? Okay, let's talk about technicians.
Yep, average salaries ever, it says 30,000 to 6,000, but you feel enough right
Okay.
now. And then qualifications, all we need is a post-secondary degree.
True. So pretty much,
Is that like trade school?
yeah, so pretty much you need a diploma from high school, or a high school diploma, and then some training. Well, that's what we're gonna put. But we'll talk about that. High school diploma, I'm just gonna put that. Okay? What do they do?
They talked a lot about the difference between automotive technician and mechanical technician.
Okay.
So, both of them, it seems like they run diagnostics on the vehicle. And the, biggest automotive technician is the guy that runs the diagnostics, and he's working with all the electrical systems.
Uh-huh.
And then the mechanical one is the guy that usually implements the changes. But the automotive can as well, but it's mainly the mechanical, and he's dealing more with the moving parts, like the actual metal.
Taking
portions.
stuff apart and putting it back together.
Yeah.
Good. So I'd say in just regular shop, that's what you'll be doing both. Okay, you'll be diagnosing and then taking it apart. Where's the money though? Where do you make the money? And that's where the money is, diagnostics. If you can actually take something, someone comes in with a complaint, and you run through a process and run all these tests and figure out exactly what's causing their problem, that's where the money's at. Because anybody, I won't say anybody, that's wrong. Most people can take things apart and put them back together, I would say. Minimal training, which is why it says high school diploma. But I do want to talk about this for a second, because in the real world, and we live in a weird world right now, I'll tell you that. I mean, the opinions are just, never heard so many opinions in my life. This is the world we live in. Everyone has an opinion, and they're just opinions. I'm going to give you my opinion. But I'll base it on, I mean, it's coming from somewhere. So, at the high school where I work, counselors. How many of you guys dealt with counselors when you were in high school? Like, legitimately talked with them and they gave you advice? No? Me neither. I never had that. But some of you did. Okay. So my only question is, and I'm not trying to diss counselors because they help a lot and they do a lot of work. But when it comes to like career advice specifically, where do they get their qualifications? Meaning, how do they know what careers are out there besides what they've specifically done themselves? You know what I'm saying? Like when they are trying to give my students advice that they should go into automotive and why and where they can be, like where are they getting their information? Because they've never asked me at the high school level, like I'm the automotive teacher, and they've never asked me about it. So what the heck are they telling these students about automotive? Are they telling them about the stuff that you guys already knew before? Like, oh yeah, you can become a mechanic. Or are they telling them this stuff like we just learned all these other amazing jobs and how to get them? You know what I mean? You had your hand up.
oh yeah, I was saying in my high school that we had like a career center and our house was the career center, and the person who like volunteered it didn't necessarily know a lot about things, but they were different person who could do the research, and they would send you the research like while you were in this career center,
That's good.
and then they just like research.
That's good. Yeah, that's better than what I've heard of ours. But so my only issue is I think even the counselors don't even know what's out there, what's available. And they're putting like these, I'm not gonna call them dumb, but they're like, in my automotive class, I get like a specific type of kid sent to me by counselors. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, oh, this kid doesn't like math, he doesn't like English, he doesn't do well at this. He'd be good at automotive. Which is just not true at all. And so, I mean, some of them really are good, and maybe it's just because they don't care about high school, you know, like that's, and I understand that. But what I'm saying is, they're doing that, and then worldwide, so that's high school level. Then we go worldwide. You guys know who Mike Rowe is, right? He's the dirty jobs guy. He's also like the leader and proponent for Skills USA. You guys know what Skills USA is? So Skills USA is a high school program. Actually, it's in college level too. And so it's just like trade. It's where they do all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's like a club that you belong to where you do things. I don't know. As far as like automotive goes, you have competitions. You do clubs where you get like do fundraising and all that stuff. Anyways, it's like the name. So he's like the proponent of that. And he also comes out and he says that he doesn't think that we should be pushing kids to go to college anymore. That's an old notion, right? They don't need to go to college. They don't need, like, you can get a job going to a trade school, or you could just, what if we trained them in high school and they could go get these jobs and they could be making tons of money because lots of kids are graduating from college and universities with tons of debt and not getting jobs they want. Okay. So I see where he's coming from. But again, what are the jobs you get with just a high school diploma? What is he saying? What is he talking about? Because I know it's true. I could go out of high school, or my kids could go out of high school right now, and where could they go? With minimal training. Sure. Yeah, there is. YouTube. What about steelwork, welding, manufacturing, roofing, concrete work, automotive technicians? I use that word lightly here. Okay, these are the jobs he's talking about. And is it true that you can go get those jobs? Absolutely. And do you make good money? Absolutely. They make great money. But how long can you do it? And that's what I think nobody's talking about. I don't understand why they're not talking about this. Has anybody done concrete work? Is it hard? Do you want to keep doing it the rest of your life? Oh man, it's bad on the back, the knees, it's hot, it is just exhausting work. And I don't know anybody that's been in concrete for a long time that didn't hate it. Like that's the kind of job you did it because you had no other choice and you need the money to take care of your family, but you've hated it every day of your life for the last 20 years. You know what I'm talking about? Like that, that's not what I want. What about roofing? Anybody done roofing in here? Did you like it? Do you like it? So it's dangerous. Is it bad on your shins and your knees and your feet and your back? I mean, I've been on roofs. I've never worked roofs, but I've been on roofs, and just standing on the roof hurts me. And imagine bending over and picking up piles of shingles and helping them get them on the roof and bending over, and people have died and all that kind of stuff on roofs. Again, how long can you hold it off? How long can you do that before you're done? Steelwork, same thing. Welding's not that terrible, but welding is a lot more skill than you think it does. Like, you might get a job out of high school, but if you want to continue getting jobs, you have to perfect this particular weld and then get certified in it, and then perfect the next kind and get certified in it. So it's lots and lots and lots of certifications that you have to get. Now let's get to automotive. That's why we're here. A technician, if you get in there in high school, where do you start? No college training, no experience. Where do you begin? What do you think? Washing cars. That's probably where you're going to start. You're going to start in the wash bay. Or you're going to start in the oil change bay. And they pay you minimum wage there. And they work you really, really hard. And they promise you that you'll move up. And they promise you they'll train you, and they promise you all these things. And I know tons of people that have done it, and after 10 years, they're still doing minimal, small job work. Why? Because there's never time. The dealership's so busy, they don't have time to train you. They don't want to take you away because they need you doing those jobs that are pulling in money. And so they're going to leave the ones that are already trained doing the big work, and they're going to leave you down there, and then you're going to end up quitting. And again, how long do you last? And then even if you do, we're doing that stuff. If you've ever worked on cars before, it is also hard on the back, hard on the knees, because you're constantly crouching down and doing all this stuff. So how long before you want to do something different is what I'm saying. So I'm not dissing this job, and I am telling you that this $40,000 right here is low because this includes all of those Jiffy Lube workers and Walmart and Sam's Club and all those small-time shops. That includes all those low ones, but it also includes some really high-end pay. So in Rigby right now, I know 2 technicians making over $100,000, and they're only like 2 or 3 years out of college. So the one made $75K his first year at college in Rigby, graduated from here, and then another one graduated from, I don't know where, ISU or something like that, and he was doing really well too. Okay, so you can make good money, and I'll show you how. But when you're done, right, when your body gives out, or when you're just sick and tired of the job, whatever, where is this going to take you? What options does that give you? Gives you none. So I still think, at minimum, that we should be pushing every student to at least get an associate's degree, because at least you lock in those general credits, and you can always go back to college and build off of that. If you go to a trade school, like if I went to WyoTech, or I went to UTI, or I went to any of those technical schools, what do you get when you graduate? Do I get a diploma? You just get a certificate. So what does a certificate give me? Nothing. It just tells the dealership that I have specific training. But when I want to become a service manager someday, and they're looking for a service manager to run their finances and advertising and all that stuff for one of the biggest money makers at the dealership, the service department, you think they're going to hire me that all I have a certificate? Or are they going to hire the guy that has experience too, but he had a bachelor's degree or something? You know what I mean? So that's why I say at least you lock in those credits as an associate's degree, and then it's like, oh man, I'm getting tired. I plan on doing something different soon. Maybe I'll go back and get 2 more years of automotive training or whatever and get my bachelor's degree or whatever. So I don't agree with this thing, this going right out of high school and be able to get a job. I think everybody should go get an associate's degree. Again, that's my opinion. Everybody throws out their opinions, but that's why I have that opinion. Now let's talk about why you can make more money than that. Have you guys heard of flat rate before? No? You've heard of it? You don't have no idea what it is? Okay. So if you go into a dealership, it's kind of like going into a Taco Bell. And they have the menu behind them. Like you're going in there and asking for service, they should have something up there that kind of just talks about what they charge and all that stuff, and advertise different services and things. Somewhere in there, they should, and if they don't have it written down, you at least have to ask, because I don't know why you would go to work, ask for someone to do work if you don't know what they're charging. So they charge you flat rate. So around here right now, it's about $100 per flat rate hour. $100 per, we'll just write flat rate. That's wrong. Per flat rate hour. Hopefully. Okay. That means when they look up in the book, so let's say you're going in for a brake job for your Ford Expedition, and they look it up and they say for this particular car, it should take you 3 hours to get it done. And who wrote this information, by the way? Who knows that it's supposed to take the average technician 3 hours? These guys. They're the ones that wrote the book. So we're looking up information from these guys that says, okay, that's what it should And everyone has the same information, so no matter where you go, when they look up this particular car for this particular job, it's still gonna say 3 hours. So they're gonna charge you 3 times 100 for your labor charge, plus parts and maybe some materials. Now, the technician, he's going to get paid per flat rate hour. So if you're a first-year technician, it would not be uncommon for you to get paid minimum wage, right? Not you just get paid hourly, minimum hourly. And that's because you're not very good yet. And if they put you over to flat rate, you're going to get burned out and you're going to quit and they're going to lose you. So for the first year, while you're just learning, they might just do a minimum hourly wage. But then let's say you're really, really good. Maybe they'll move you up quicker, or maybe you're kind of slow and you just, second year comes around, they're like, let's move you up to flat rate. So what they're going to do is they're probably going to start you around $16 per flat rate hour. What that means is, if this technician does this job, no matter what, he's going to get paid 3 times $16. And here's where you make money. What if I do it in 1 hour? I still get paid 3 hours of work. Does that make sense? So now I didn't make $16 an hour. I made $48 an hour. Is that right, man? That's where you get the big bucks. But it works the opposite way too. If it took him 4 hours to get it done, he's still only getting paid the $48. So now we're making even less than $16 an hour. Which is why, again, this is why this guy didn't get paid flat rates, because he's making no money because he's not very good yet. And he gets burned out. Okay? Now after, and you can move up quicker, it just depends on how good you are, but let's say 5 years later, right, your 5th year, they bump you, you're all the way up to like $25 per flat rate hour now. That's even better, but they're not going to give you the easy jobs anymore, they're going to give you the more difficult jobs. But it doesn't mean you still can't make good money. And then every dealership has 1 or 2 really good technicians that have probably been there 10 years or more, unless you get there quicker, like your skills are really that good. And they're making like $35 per flat rate hour. And these guys can make like $150,000 a year if the dealership is full. But again, these guys don't, after 10 years, you're ready to be done. It's like, I don't even want to do this. I worked at a Toyota dealership for a couple of years, and the senior level technician that was there was the biggest jerk I'd ever met in my life. And I swear he probably used to be nice, but the job just made him not nice anymore. Maybe he was nice at home, but he was definitely not nice at work. The guy just hated his job, and you could tell, and he would tell you that he hated it. So, anyways, any questions on this? Comments? Opinions? Okay. Service manager. Back row. How much? 55? Wow. Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, what does this guy want to do with his life later on? He hopefully wants to move up to this position. And this requires a bachelor's degree. Okay?
It was talking about, like, some jobs require the high school diploma, like you want to go higher, then you need a bachelor's degree or an associate's. Some college level experience to go to, like, higher service management.
Definitely. Again, if you think of a dealership, the dealership's got basically 3 parts to it. The dealership's got the sales part, you have your service part, and then you have your, well, we can kind of break the parts, your parts, right? You have a parts department that feeds the service and everything. So, who do you think pulls in the most money overall? Sales, service, or parts? Sales, yeah. Obviously, that's, dealership wouldn't exist if they're not selling cars. But who do you think saves the dealership in the end? It's a service, right? Any downtime, it's the service department that's going to keep making money even when the sales are low. So they're like the ones that are always, they need to continue on. So if you have some guy in there running pretty much a third of the dealership, even more because they carry more weight, do you want him to have a bachelor's degree at least? I would think so. probably in finance or business management or what's the other one that's like finance? Accounting, thank you. Was not coming. Yeah. Good. So what do they do? What's the service manager's job?
I kind of saw this, I just like keep everything going day to day, like they're in charge of all the employees, they're making sure that it's a safe environment, they hire employees, they're making sure that everything's up to date, all of their legal, all that kind of stuff is all up to date, everything runs smoothly.
Good. Trainings. Yep, you said the tools, it's good. They also deal with customers and things, especially when there's problems. It's a hard job. It's a busy job. I just read a LinkedIn article this morning, and obviously this is nationwide, it's not Idaho based, but the LinkedIn article said that the guy had noticed multiple postings for service managers that were paying less than $150,000 a year. And the guy was saying, no wonder you're needing the position because you're not keeping the service managers you have. If you're not paying your service manager $150,000 a year, then why would he stay? So that's interesting that the average was only $55,000. But also that includes smaller states and things. I mean, in Idaho, I don't think you need to make $150,000 as a service manager, but I bet you should probably make over $100,000. I don't know why you'd even do the job if you didn't. Because as a technician, I could make that and not have all the responsibility. You know, it's interesting. But it's all about value, right? What do we value, and is the dealership willing to show that value? Okay, performance tuning. This one's interesting. So what you three of you find? Okay.
I had a hard time finding like specifics about that job.
It is a hard one because it's not like a really popular job. What is it?
Like modifying your vehicle to a different purpose and what it was.
Good. So you guys have all heard of dynos and stuff, right? These guys are doing dynos and tuning and putting on fancy parts, turbochargers, superchargers. They're making the thing go fast. Like that's what a performance tuner is. So kind of a cool job. And the reason you didn't find any information is there's no training program in the world that I've ever heard of that puts you in this position at all. This is like a who you know and train yourself kind of thing and start your own work, but you can make really good money doing this. But it's really fun. I mean, imagine someone bringing you their stuff and they're like, yeah, I just bought this, but I want it to be more powerful than what the dealership made it. See what you can do. They give it to you for a couple weeks and you do dyno testing after dyno testing and run all these things and put all these things on it and get the most horsepower as you possibly can. Charge the customer a lot of money and give it back. It's very computerized. Tuning is not bolting on a bunch of parts and whatever. If you want to actually be good at tuner, you have to know your computer skills very well. Because you're pretty much reprogramming the stuff from the manufacturer. And by the way, this might go away. You never know. It's been in legislation for a long time and never actually gone anywhere, thank goodness. But GM and those places, they want to kind of limit that. They don't want you to be able to mess with their stuff. They're trying to say it's copyright, but it's not because we're not copying it. We're making our own thing. So I don't know. There's lots to it. And it's fun though. Like I teach some performance tuning to my students and change some things on people's cars. Yeah, make good money. So there's a lot out there. That's what I want you to see. This is just a small portion of what actually goes on in the automotive world. Let's go back to this PowerPoint for a minute and focus on a couple slides. First of all, these graduates, these are all not that long ago. These are all within like the last 5 to 6 years. And some of the ones we saved. And we keep good contact with these people, but I mean, you went and worked for Toyota right out of college, went straight over to Michigan, and he works on the self-driving stuff. And I didn't go, but the other professors went and visited him with some students. And he can't tell you everything, but they showed him like they have like a mock city set up, totally fake city, with just dummies and things all around. It's kind of creepy. but where the cars learn how to like see a person and stop, and see a dog and stop, and all those kinds of things. Recognizing all that. That's what he's doing. And you know what he graduated in? Automotive, not engineering. He graduated in automotive engineering, which is one of the degrees we offer. So, you don't need to be a mechanical engineer to get these cool jobs. You just need some engineering, lots of automotive background. Okay? Haley graduated a few years, like 3 or 4 years ago. She went and worked for Ford. She's one of those ones in the call center type place. That's where she started. I don't know if she's moved up. Ford doesn't like to keep you in the same place for very long. Here, this one's cool. How would you like to be the person that they came up with this brand new 4-wheel drivetrain system. Put it on this Jeep or whatever it is. He's not working on it. Oh, he is. Fiat Chrysler. So imagine this new Jeep. And they're like, we need to make sure this thing works. You want to go out and drive it? And it's 4-wheel drive, so I need you to drive like mountains, mud, rocks, all that stuff, and make sure it performs the way it's supposed to. That's what he does. Okay, and he takes his computer with him and he logs all sorts of data and he uploads it into Excel and does stuff with it and then sends it off and just goes and does it again. That would be a cool job. This one was really cool. So I think he just graduated barely, but this was like 3 or 4 years ago. First year in college, he gets called or contacted by Mercedes-Benz through LinkedIn. They called him. And he had a LinkedIn profile, said he was a student at BYU Automotive, spoke Japanese because he never lived in Japan. His mom was from Japan directly. So they spoke Japanese in the home. So we had that on his LinkedIn profile. Mercedes-Benz in Tokyo contacts him and says, well, how well do you speak Japanese? He's like, well, pretty good. Like, we're going to send you a document. You have 24 hours to translate as much of that document as you possibly can. It's like high-tech, like literature, so it's not like easy stuff. So he does it all, sends it back to him, and he gets offered a 6-month internship in Tokyo, Japan, as a first year in college. So he goes over there, signs all these, like I asked him directly about it, I was like, so what did you do? And he said, well, I can't tell you a lot because I had to sign all these non-disclosure agreements and stuff, but pretty much he's working on these infotainment, navigation, Bluetooth stuff on these new Mercedes-Benz for 6 months, and then we just deferred so he came back. He was all ready to go. And I don't know where he's at now. I'd have to ask one of the other professors, but Mercedes told him that he could come back. Maybe not in Japan, but Germany, United States, there'd be positions. That's cool. Ralph's one of my favorites. He graduated with me, so this is been a lot. But he gets to drive brand new like Tundras and Tacomas and stuff on the dirt track down in Arizona. Same thing, just push them to their limits, see if they break, see what they can do, see where there's problems, so we can fix them before we release these to the public. That's what he does, like 3 or 4 days out of the week, just drives. Pretty cool job. Field service engineer. He started at Ford and moved over to Fiat Chrysler. I think he's now working for Subaru up in Washington. So he's moved companies and still loves it. And he works for Toyota, and he graduated automotive management. Like he had nothing to do with engineering at all, but he got the position because he loved Toyota, had a good resume, and had the training that they wanted on cars. Like they want people to just know cars. They can train you on the other stuff. It's hard to train somebody how a car works. On the spot, you know. Volkswagen, I mean, we put them everywhere. Eaton Corporation, and there's all these other ones. And here's where we want to look at. So this was in 2014 when this was made, so it's been a while. But things haven't changed that much. If anything, the pies have gotten smaller over here and bigger over here. But we have over 400 majors in the automotive program. 400 majors, 100% placement. And look at where they're going. 55% of our graduates aren't going into technician, they're going into service engineers. 14%, which has gone up, is more than that now, into test engineering. Only 10% is service technician. That's it. That's small. Most universities are pushed, like if they have an automotive program, that's where they're going, is they're training technicians, but not BYU. Which is why we're one of them. BYU is one of 4 like universities in the whole nation that has a 4-year full-on automotive program. Toyota comes here and recruits directly. I think we're one of 4 universities they do that too. Toyota comes here directly. Ford comes here directly. Yeah, Chrysler comes here. Tesla started coming here too, like a year ago. We've placed them in all sorts of locations all around the country, places outside the country. This is what the job market looked like in 2014. So there were 90,000 available jobs in the automotive industry, right? And in 2014, about 45,000 people applied for those 90,000 jobs. So we were very deficient in that. And unfortunately, only 25 to 30,000 people were actually qualified to get those jobs. So that leaves 1/3 of those jobs unfilled in 2014. And that's a continuing trend. Even in this like market that we're seeing where people are losing jobs and things, automotive is still needing jobs. Still has availability. Okay. So, if you were interested, again, it's not a sales pitch, but if you were interested, there are 4 degrees in automotive department right now. You have the Advanced Vehicle Systems, which is a bachelor's degree. You have the Automotive Engineering Technology, which is a blend between departments, right? Engineering and automotive together. Or you could do the Automotive Technology Management, which would train you to be like a shop owner if you wanted to, or management of some kind. Or you could just get a 2-year degree. So, lots of different options, lots of jobs out there. Look at all the companies. I mean, this page right here. Like, this is just a small handful of all the companies out there. Because you have the manufacturers. But then you have the tier 1 suppliers that feed parts and things to the manufacturers. But then you also have the tier 2 suppliers that are feeding parts to the tier 1s to make their products. And then you have dealerships, and you have independent and aftermarket places, and you have all these, K&N air filters. You have performance off-roading stuff, and you got lighting companies, and you got, it's just insane. Like, there's just so many things that you could go into out of it. So just as an illustration of that before we end this, let's go to GM's website right now. So if you go to the bottom of GM, this is similar on Ford and all that stuff. But down here you click on careers. And let's do recent grad. Let's do what that brings up. Let's do some, click on engineering. And we want to stay in the States. Oh, wrong. Let's see how many jobs are available. So these are for full-time positions. There's only 3 right now for recent grads. Not bad. That's just the US. And it changes every day. Beyond here, it's always different. You want an internship, let's say an internship is offered 22 internships right now. It's impressive. Let's change it to a professional and see if that changes anything. Okay. Did it go somewhere?
I don't think it went through.
I don't think it did. Oh, right here. So it's got 3 right now. Automated driving compute system, high performance computing software engineer, automated driving software infrastructure integration engineer, infotainment connectivity QRD engineer. If you read a lot of these things, you'll get in there and you'll say like, oh, you need an engineering degree. But that does not mean mechanical engineering does not mean you have to have specifically. In fact, when we really started placing students in these positions, it wasn't until we started like getting into these companies and actually talking to their recruiters and talking to things. And they would start, I mean, when it first started, it was like, well, we just didn't realize your school trained for that kind of stuff. But now that we know that, let's get them in here. Like they just didn't know. But now that we've got our foot in the door for all these companies and they know what we train for and what our students are like and stuff, now they just want more and more of BYU Idaho graduates. It's insane. They crave them. And I hear it. You guys know what SEMA is? You never heard of SEMA? You've heard of it. SEMA is the biggest aftermarket car show in the world. It was canceled this year, unfortunately. They're doing SEMA 360, which is all over. Anyways, so this is like a place. It's in Vegas. When it does it, it's in there. It's huge. I've been 5 years now, and I mean they're all over the world. Brazil, Japan, China, like everybody in the world is there. Aftermarket manufacturers of all sorts of stuff. You could spend. It's only 3 days long of the actual exhibitors. If I actually stopped and gave every booth attention, I would never make it through. That just would never happen. There's lots and lots of booths. Coolest place I've ever been. But anyways, you talk to those people and not even like just tooting BYU Idaho's horn, but they know who you are. Like I'll go in there and be like, oh yeah, I work at the high school, but I also work at BYU Idaho. And they're like, oh yeah, we've hired a few of your students. They're really good. Like, wow, I didn't know you had some of our students there. Who are they? I want to contact them and get them involved because the more alumni we get involved, the more, even more jobs get open and stuff. So it's pretty cool. So that's all I got for this presentation. Hopefully that kind of broadened your horizons on this topic. Any last questions? Okay. Yes.
So far, in the mechanical engineering now,